I just finished a book titled The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And something became really clear to me that I realized I wasn't kind of being fully open with you, with my followers, with the 30,000 people on my distribution list. And it bothered me. And it was in reading this book that it became clear that I was actually kind of holding something back. And the thing that I was holding back is that oftentimes when someone works with me one-on-one, I'm not just helping them grow their investments in the markets or in real estate. I'm actually helping them increase their income and revenue and grow their revenue. And when I started my company back in 1998, it was this idea I had that growing your money in the stock market is not enough. Stock market, real estate market, it's not enough. Yes, you have to protect it. Yes, you can't lose. Yes, you can't lose big. But that was only part of it. The bigger part was to follow a system, follow a strategy that didn't take a lot or almost any of your attention, so you could focus it on either moving up through the ranks through your business and making more money, or what it turned out to be even more was I'd work with entrepreneurs and professional coaches, consultants, and business owners who had real control over what they made with their income. So it was the combination of these two. And in my brain, I just thought, I can't talk about both because they're separate. I can only talk about the stock market, or I can only talk about helping people increase their revenue. And it was in reading the book, The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday was talking about. He goes, look, I don't want to just do one thing. I want to do 3, 4, 5 things. And it's the fact that I do 3 or 4, 5 things that it makes me better at all of them. And it kind of gave me a license to be like, that's actually how I feel with helping people grow their income and revenue and help them protect and grow their money in the stock market. Like, they are in part and parcel the same thing. So this coincided with someone showing me this website with a bunch of testimonials. And all the testimonials were kind of the same. They were all kind of people at a weekend workshop that were all just really hyped up and excited about it, which is all right. But it just kind of bothered me, this type of testimonial, because it didn't seem real. Like, people obviously are excited in that weekend and they see what's possible, but I'm always wanting to know, like, what happens 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months after that weekend? That's what I want to know. And I want a testimonial that kind of does that, gives that full view. And so last week I touched a little bit on this person that started work with me a little under 3 years ago, Adam Boswell. And it got me this idea of a theme I wanted to do. Hey everybody, this is RC Peck. This is my weekend podcast, and the theme for this weekend is the way a testimonial should be done. And what I want to do is share with you the conversation I had with Adam, and I actually cut it up in pieces, and I want to give commentary on it. Now, why this is important to you: if you still have to earn money, this interview is going to be incredibly important to you. It's actually not that long. If you don't, and you don't have all the income you want in your life and all the wants are being satisfied, then one of the things you may want to look at is you probably should not have stopped working. And there's probably something you're passionate about doing that can help others and increase your income. So with that, I want to introduce the actual recording I did with Adam. Now, the first thing I asked Adam, as you'll see, is kind of what life was like before using this, what I call the 3-question sales technology. So let's start with that.
I guess the first thing anyone listening to this would want to know is, can you just kind of describe your life, your income, your effort level before I taught you the easy conversation?
Sure. I had come from working in corporate America. I was a salaried employee at about $150,000 a year, and I worked very, very hard. I got my paychecks, and I went home and enjoyed my life for the most part, but found that where I was headed there and what I was doing there was not ultimately where I wanted to be, and that would never get me where I wanted to be. And so I started my own company in 2010, and I felt like like I was bringing to the table enormous amounts of energy and ability in the technology field. And I started working my butt off for everybody that I could get my hands on. And they would come back to me and say, all right, well, how much is the service going to cost? And I'd say, man, it's going to take me 10 hours and I'm going to charge you X amount of money. And I would work that 10 hours and they would pay me exactly what I asked for. I found that the more and more that I did that, the less people respected my technology, the less they respected me, and the less that I got out of the entire situation. And I had customers grumpy, I had people who were unhappy, and I was simply billing every hour of my life away. And it was beyond painful. I felt like I was absolutely backsliding and getting nowhere. And I was very, very concerned and frustrated that I would just have to go back into corporate America and give up my dreams, give up what I wanted really to do. That's about how things were going.
So this is what I often call the expert's dilemma. A lot of people who are professional consultants or coaches or business owners, they're experts at what they do. And it's not enough to be an expert. I call it the expert order taker. Someone who's an expert and they just kind of know how to take an order. And that sounds a little maybe black and white, but that's kind of how it is. And they rely on the kindness of their clients saying good things about them and coming back. But the problem is if those clients stop coming back, which is likely over longer periods of time of a business life cycle, then that business owner, that expert, is kind of in trouble because they've never figured out a way, how to bring someone to make a decision to work with them in a conversation. So that's actually what was going on with Adam. Was an expert, absolute expert at what he does, but he was kind of an order taker, and his entire business was based on his effort. So that then leads to the first year, and I actually broke the first year down, and you'll hear it in a second, describing kind of the first 6 months and the second 6 months. So here we go.
Tell me what the first 6 months and the first 12 months was, both with just like your experience and your income.
The first 6 months after you and I started working together, and I was trying to implement and utilize the Easy Conversation, was rough, to be honest. I understood the principles that you were trying to tell me, and I understood what I needed to do, but people weren't responding the way that I had hoped. I'm a big, heavy guy, and sometimes I have to realize that I go on diets and try very hard, and I'm kind of impatient. I'll get on a diet, and 2 weeks into it, I haven't lost 10 pounds. I'm like, this diet's stupid. So that kind of mentality was a little bit plaguing me when I first started working with you. I was like, man, I'm doing what you're saying. How come I'm not a millionaire yet? And I'm being a little facetious, but the reality was I started to implement and utilize your plan. What I saw was my results in the first 6 months weren't dramatically different as far as the money coming in, but all of a sudden, my clients and my employees and people started respecting me. I started to get back the thing that I had lost that was the most valuable to me beyond the money, which was I would talk to a client, he would pay me his bill, and then he would call me back and be like, man, what you had done is wonderful. Instead of the other way was before, people would call me and be like, man, you got to fix this, and you said you do this, and you got to fix this, which none of it was in scope, and it's all twisted, but the respect started to come in. So in that first 6 months, I started to notice that, and that was one of the essential pieces for me to say, man, this is making a difference. And so I forged ahead and pushed really hard, and pushed as hard as I could possibly push. And by the end of that first year, the dramatic change I had seen, again, in not just the financial, but in the respect that I had gotten from people. I mean, don't get me wrong, I doubled my revenue in that first year. What you had taught me, what you showed me, allowed me to completely turn around what I was doing and how I was doing it, and the money came. But beyond that, I gained the respect and appreciation from my clients, which was phenomenal, right? It's what helps you sleep at night. Money is great, but it doesn't help you feel good at the end of the day. The respect and helping people out there, at least for me, was very important, and I started to gain that in addition to the fact that I was, again, bringing in a substantial, better revenue income. So
Yeah.
that was the end of the first year. I was hooked.
So your income doubled, not just your revenue, but your income doubled. What money ended up in your bank account doubled?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, easily doubled. That was again, because of the way that we were doing work and the way that we were able to get people to do the level of work that we needed. I was able to see a significant uptick in the amount of money that I personally had, not just the business had, but that I was able to retain from that.
One of the things that I often see is people increase their revenue in their company, but their actual income does not go up, right? So they're a company of 1 to 10 people. The company is growing, more people are working for them, they're working harder, the revenue is going up, but their actual income isn't. And if it is going up, it's on the back of an incredible amount of effort, increased effort. But on top of that, did you notice that Adam said things didn't feel like they were shifting right away, but he stuck with it? And that's something I often don't see, whether it's with investing, a new strategy, or starting anything new. People actually don't stick with it. So there's this dynamic that has people move away sooner than they should, and that actually hurts them financially, spiritually, emotionally. But that's the one thing that I notice doesn't happen that much when people aren't shifting. They don't actually stick with it. So then we go on to the second year. And so let's listen to what happened to Adam the second year.
What happened to income the second year?
The second year turned from working my guts out and forcing the feeling of that to it starting to come naturally. And as that started to happen, I tell you what, I was comfortable and I was happy at the end of that first year that you and I worked together. I wasn't stressed about my money. I wasn't stressed about the business. I felt like things were going well. I know that you had talked to me and you had said that hey, we're going to get you the double. We're going to get you double at least, and we're going to get you there. I trusted you and I wanted to believe you, but I didn't see it. And RC, the end of that second year, I had doubled again what we had started with at the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden, not only was that a phenomenal jump, but again, at this point, at the end of the second year, it was just natural. I went from almost disbelieving to almost expecting, and that's just how it was. That's how things are going to be when I work and do and follow what you had taught me how to do, and follow the plan according to the variables that are there. I went from disbelief to almost expecting it. I just knew it was going to happen, and it did. I was very, very happy with where I was sitting at the end of that year.
One of the hard things to do is to believe something that hasn't happened to you. And that's one of the issues I have with testimonials, that you hear it happening to other people, though actually you don't actually hear it happening to other people. What you hear is them in a weekend workshop being very excited about being in that weekend workshop. But what you don't hear is what happened to them 1 or 2 years later. And even when you do hear something happening to someone else, you actually have to experience it yourself. And that's one of the difficult things, is you actually have to go on your own journey and experience it before you learn it, before it becomes your natural way. But you notice that Adam said it became his natural way. He didn't have to think about what he was doing. That's just what he did. When he woke up in the morning, this is how he conducted business, and his income and his revenue doubled again. So we'll do one more. We'll do the third year and then a recap. So let's take a look and listen to this. Let me pop this in.
And so let's just fast forward now. At the end of this year, what will it look like at the end of that third year for you?
So at the end of the third year, I can't say that I doubled again, only because that's a gross underestimation of where we actually are at. We've gone from just a few employees to a a mid to small sized company, we'll in revenue this year peak conservatively over $6 to $6.5 million. And again, that's revenue in my pocket of that. Not tipping my hat at my company and what I'm doing, but as the CEO of the company, I'm not going to walk away with a small chunk of that.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you for for sharing that stuff. But it sounds like in 3 years, you went from kind of struggling, making maybe 6 figures, maybe not even 6 figures, to end of 3 years is way past the 7-figure mark in kind of the $6-7 million mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. And nicely done.
Now, what Adam went on to say, and I actually kind of off the interview, but still for public use, is he was just talking about how his clients really love him now. They went from kind of looking at him as an effort-based, where's the thing I wanted to do, to kind of appreciating, to actually loving the work that he does for other people. So much so that clients are now offering him part ownership in their companies, even some publicly traded companies, because of how he's approached them, because of how he operates with them, because of how he thinks. And again, all because of this, what I call the 3-question sales technology called the Easy Conversation. And this, again, is about increasing income, not just revenue, certainly not effort, but increasing that income and having an investment strategy that you really don't need to pay that much attention to, because the strategy itself is paying attention to what the market is doing. So one last thing, it's his experience, and let's just this is kind of a look back, and then we'll wrap this up. Here we go.
Clearly, the technology, the Easy Conversation technology, is part of it. You're the other part of it, right? So it takes 2 parts. But, what part of this transformation over the last 3 years would you attribute to the principles and ideals and actual languaging of the Easy Conversation?
Kind of as I had said before, a little bit about the beginning of the Easy Conversation is kind of following a script, right? You talk about what you're supposed to talk about, when you're supposed to talk about it, and respond to people in the appropriate way. And it's kind of a method, right? It's kind of a formula. As I mentioned, as I got into the second year and it started to become natural, I found something amazing happened in this third year, that the Easy Conversation, the principles of the Easy Conversation have bled into every aspect of both my business, some of my personal life, the way that I deal with my family and friends, not from the perspective of like thoughts anchoring and trying to do those things with them, but the principles that come out of it, of understanding people, understand what people want, understand how you can help them to get what they need and what they're after, and find those emotional connections, for me has been phenomenal. And there is simply no way that I would be where I am today without learning that, without learning those skills and applying those skills in a very broad spectrum of my business life.
Now, I don't know if you caught this or not, but one of the things he said was really understanding people's wants. What someone really wants. And I often say, what's your want? And a lot of people never really figure out what their client wants. They just kind of get this tertiary logical answer, but they never really find that core want. And once you do that, you really know how to help them. You can help them much better. So the question is, what is the takeaway from all this, right? Because we have, usually you know me as someone that's talking about stocks and bonds and charts. And again, that's part of it. You have to know how to protect that money that you've saved and how to grow it, protect it from inflation, protect it from capital loss, and grow it over time. And that is an important part. But you can't really get the security in the future you want just from protecting and growing your saved money. It has to be a combination of increasing income and revenue with less effort, and done in a way where your future is not based on effort, but it's actually based on the results that you can produce for other people. So the big takeaway is, investing alone will not get you there. Even if you're retired, I know retired people who turn to their passion and charge to teach people their passion and they become richer. And I just don't mean that financially. And their clients do too. It works great for both of them. So guys, really, this is just, another step towards your freedom with money, your future, and your life. Until next time, this is R.C. Peck.